What is up, Gridwisers? Welcome back to yet another podcast. It's Jay here, and I've got a special guest for us all today. I'd like to introduce one of my coworkers, the lovely Sarah.
Hello.
And Sarah, what is your role here at Gridwise?
I'm a mobile engineer, so
Yes.
I make the user interface that you guys use to track your miles and find more earnings and stuff. It's super fun.
Yeah, we have our first technical guest on the show today. Today's Gridwise topics, we're going to talk about a bunch of cool things, Sarah. We got number one on the list. We have Juno, the rideshare hailing app in New York City. I believe that was the third largest rideshare hailing app. So in addition to Uber, obviously number one, Lyft, Juno was third. Closed for business.
I was so sad to hear that. I used to live in New York. I used Juno all the time. It was great.
Yeah.
Drivers seemed in a better mood when they picked me up in it because they liked it better.
Yeah.
I love Juno.
And apparently they were driver-centric, and a lot of New York City drivers love Juno, so we'll talk a lot about that. Second topic that we have for today is yet another phishing scam. Another scam. You won't believe what these scammers go through, the lengths, and then the reason why we have Sarah as a guest is she's an engineer, and you have a lot to say about cybersecurity issues and scamming and phishing. And then final but not least, we were talking about, this is just a for fun topic. Apparently, Uber Eats drivers in Washington, D.C. are getting flashed.
Oh my God.
I know. How gross. Okay. So some of the new initiatives that we've done for Gridwise, and Sarah was actively a part of this process, is we did some updates to the user interface.
Yeah, we updated the weather widget so it's clearer, better iconography. Also, we put a weather widget on the events page. So say if it's Tuesday, you see there's like a ball game Thursday. You can see like, oh, it's gonna rain though, so like who's gonna go to this? Like, I don't know, or maybe there'll be more rideshare drivers because there's rain, or because there's whatever. So
I'll tell you right now, I make some of the best money when it rains, and this is
interesting.
And the reason why is I think twofold. People don't want to walk in the rain, so you have more people calling short rides,
right?
That they normally wouldn't call.
Yeah, they just like walk or take public transport.
Right, and then you know how surge works. Like if there's more people calling, more demand than there's supply as drivers, then there tends to be more surge. Also, in our city, traffic just comes to a standstill when there's inclement weather. So when there's precipitation,
those tunnels and like snow or something.
Yeah, and I feel like gridlock and increased traffic also increases the amount of time that people spend in rideshare cars, right? Because you're stuck in traffic, and that, number one, check this out, takes drivers off the road because they're stuck on a trip.
Oh,
so decreases supply.
Right.
And then it also increases demand because people are taking longer to get to places.
Yeah.
So that, coupled with the fact that people are calling more rides, boost, that tends to be surge. What I do is I use destination filtering for long trips to the airport.
Oh, that makes sense.
So So Uber drivers, Gridwise users, make sure you use weather to the best of your advantage.
Yeah, on events.
Yeah, it's on events now and also on the front page. Yeah. We pull this from, where do we pull this from?
Dark Sky.
So this is like industry leading commercial grade.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very fine grained.
Yeah. So it's not just
we didn't just guess.
It's not
really
Brandon.
Good.
It's not Brandon in the background typing it in like his weather. Brandon's weather reports, right?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, by the way,
that's a new feature we can add on next release.
Exactly. Speaking of Brandon, for those of you wondering where Brandon is Sarah. Where's Brandon?
He's in Egypt.
He's on vacation.
I can't wait to see pictures of him like next to the pyramid.
He's literally at King Tut's tomb right now.
Wow, that's wild. He's too bad he isn't vidcasting from there.
Yeah. Starting with Juno, so a little background history on Juno. Juno, obviously, third largest rideshare company, but they only operated in New York City. So third largest in New York City. They were founded in 2016 and 2017 on the idea that we're going to be driver-centric, driver-focused. We're going to be paying our drivers more than the other rideshare companies, more fair. And I know you said you talked with a lot of drivers in New York City that were telling you to use Juno.
Yeah, I remember the first time, I guess I was in a Lyft, and a driver was like, hey, do you care about, like, driver rights? And I was like, I mean, yeah. Of course. He was like, you should use Juno because, first of all, the drivers are better because you have to have at least, like, a 4.5 rating or 4.7. I forget exactly what it was. He's like, the drivers are better, and they pay us more fairly, and everyone loves it. So I immediately downloaded it. It was the wait times were comparable to Uber and Lyft.
Oh, that's important.
Fares were comparable, and honestly, I feel like, I mean, maybe it's my imagination, but drivers seemed like in a better mood when they picked me up in it. So I was like, cool, I'll use Juno. And I felt better.
Yeah, the fact was, the one thing I want to point out is that they immediately sold you on Juno.
Yeah.
And you had called a Lyft?
Yeah, I called a Lyft, yeah.
So get this. I read online that Juno is so driver-centric, and part of, I guess, their marketing tactic was to be more fair to drivers, because the idea is if you pay the drivers, and you not just pay, you treat the drivers better, they're just we're gonna market for you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what happened in New York City. Drivers were marketing this new service, this third alternative service, when picking up passengers with Uber and Lyft. Because let's face it, you really can't escape, even though they are, not very held in high regard to drivers' mindsets, you still can't get away from using Uber or Lyft.
Right.
Because they are the largest in those cities in terms of ridership and also market share. But they were acquired by a bigger company in 2017 called Get. Now, Get is an Israeli-based company, and they focus on what we call in our industry the corporate transportation sector. So corporate transportation, the entire industry and the market as a whole, is worth $1 trillion.
Oh my Lord.
So there's a ton. I mean, $1 trillion that's a huge market.
That's like a number. It's like when people try to explain to me, I can't even imagine.
$1 trillion market, huge, wild. There is a money involved in this. So Get is, I think, currently valued somewhere north of $3.5 billion. Wow. So they are a big company, and they had the resources to acquire Juno. Now, rumors had it that why would an international company want to acquire a smaller rideshare company in one city in the United States? And I think, Sarah, because they wanted to establish a foothold, sort of like a beachhead in the United States market, which is where rideshare stems from.
Yeah.
And they did that. Their entry point was Juno. And obviously this did not work out. Now, Juno blames this, or Get blames this on all the initiatives and policies that were enacted in New York City at the time.
Interesting.
So New York City implemented these minimum wage guarantees for ride-hailing apps. And if you're going to implement minimum wage guarantees, you're going to increase operational costs. And for Juno, they were only getting 23,000 rides per day.
Oh.
And that is about 3% of the total rides per day that comprises the entire New York City market.
Interesting.
So imagine Uber and Lyft getting 90% the rest of the pie, and they're only getting a small sliver.
Yeah.
What's going to be who's going to be more affected by increased operational costs? Juno. They simply couldn't weather the storm. All the Gridwisers out here, let us know in the comment section below. I know this, when we send this podcast, I know we have viewers that are in New York City right now. If you currently are in New York City and you have driven for Juno, we really want to hear your feedback on what your thoughts about this are, in terms of what Juno was to you, what it meant to you. Was it a better platform? Was it a worse platform? Or was it neutral? And how is this going to affect you? Are you going to drive solely for Uber and Lyft? Are you looking for an exit strategy elsewhere? These are all the things that we would like to hear. Again, comment section below. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I believe it's this direction, bottom right corner. Tap that notification bell. Give this a share with your other fellow rideshare drivers in your Facebook groups, whatever, and hit that like button. New scam that's going on, everybody, and I'm just going to read it for you. A new phishing scam. I was driving to my last pickup last night, and I get a message. The message said, "My phone is at 1%. Call this number when you get to the location." So the driver here thought, this makes total sense. You know, how many times have you and we've used the Uber or Lyft apps and we've had no battery? Could be just a passenger without his phone charged, whatever. On his way to this passenger, Sarah, he gets a call. He gets a call from a random number. The scammer's number that says, "Hey, your account has been flagged," impersonating Uber support, like,
whoa,
we need to give you a call and talk about this. So he was like triggered, like emotionally.
That's frightening.
Like, why am I flagged? And they get on the phone and he's like, "Oh, your picture doesn't look like the picture that we have on file." Now, I don't know if you noticed, but drivers are now, because of all the safety issues, we're required to take like this selfie from time to time.
Yeah. And I normally I check. Yeah, I check.
Exactly. So I would be kind of fooled at that point.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh well, this makes total sense. Like, battery's dead. Get a call that I'm flagged. Okay, that makes sense. I don't look like the picture. That's a very valid reason.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they proceeded to talk and confirm the driver's name, the pickup location, the license plate of the car.
Oh, yeah.
But keep in mind that all of this is information
available
for
the passenger side. Yeah.
Exactly, because the passenger app shows you everything, including what you look like. What this scammer has done is he's saying, okay, thank you for your time. We're going to reward you with a $50 promotion, like cash out. In order to use this cash out, you got to input this this promo code into your debit card line and then hit cash out. So now I know a lot of drivers right now are thinking, oh, how can you fall for this? But think about it. In the heat of the moment.
Yeah, you're tired. Also, don't know what point of his shift he was at. He was probably tired, just
exactly.
like sick of just wanted to get it over with. Like, oh, finally I'm being rewarded for this, and like all this annoying stuff.
And I want to add that these scammers target drivers towards the end of the night, towards the end of the weekend, because that's when driver earnings are typically the highest. Because some drivers like to build up that paycheck before that cash out for that big lump sum of cash. So you can imagine, like, end of the shift, you're kind of tired, you've been doing this all day, you're not really thinking clearly, you just want the day to be over with, like Sarah said. So yeah, they tell you cash out $50, enter this promo code. Coincidentally, this promo code just happens to be a 16-digit promo code, which, as we know, what else is 16 digits?
Credit card numbers.
Exactly.
Debit card numbers.
So you enter in that debit card information on the promo code. You hit cash out. You lose your money. Luckily for this driver, reported to Uber. Uber was not able to recover the funds, but luckily Uber said, you know what? We're just going to reverse the charges. So Uber ate the cost, which they should. As a business, they should.
Yeah, because they're not protecting.
Thank you.
Yeah, like they're not protecting the driver from this kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're they don't make it clear what's the support call, what's not. I mean, it's good they stood up.
Sarah brought up a good point. I don't think Uber is, I'm still an active driver. The worst part is Uber has the ability to send notifications in app, but the only notifications I've ever gotten, Sarah, are for promos.
Oh, that's so dumb. Because my bank sends me emails all the time warning me about how not to get phished, how not to do this, how not, because fishers are out there. So they tried to phish me this morning for my social security number and stuff.
Hold on a second. Let's talk more about that. What happened?
I got a call from Texas, and I have a couple of friends who live in Texas, so I was cool, so I picked it up. And then this lady was I see you've just applied for a background check for a job. Your social security number matches that of a known violent felon. If this isn't you, to get it wiped, call this number now. You just have to confirm some personal details. And luckily, I know I'm not applying for a job.
Right.
And I also know I'm the only person with my name in the country. So there's enough stuff that was wrong that I knew was. But imagine if you were someone with a really common name who was applying for a job. I've had background check. You know what I mean? And she wanted me to call back with personal information. And luckily, that particular combination of stuff this morning didn't hit home, but it could have. And then I could have gotten identity thieved.
Yeah. So does this happen? How many phishing calls do you typically get it?
I guess I've only gotten 4 or 5 in my life. It's kind of strange that one happened this morning. Because I knew we were going to talk about this. It was weird, but yeah.
That is very strange.
It was very strange. I was extra on my guard against
being
phished.
That's like talking about something on your phone, and then if you have Facebook is listening on
Yeah. And then Facebook's all of a sudden do you want this jacket you were just talking about?
Yeah, we were just talking about, just like you were talking about phishing yesterday.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. Do you think, what are your thoughts about what Uber could do? And I guess the low-hanging fruit is just to send an in-app notification to all drivers, hey, there's a new phishing scam going around in your area. We will never contact you.
Yeah, they should, even my bank sends emails all the time saying things they will never ask me for. When they send verification codes, they always say at the end of the verification code, we will never ask you for this code. I think even just educating drivers about what passengers know about you, what's publicly available. So, because I don't know, I don't know how many drivers, I don't know what the percentage statistics of how many drivers use the app as a passenger also. Because if someone called me up, knew my license plate, knew my this, knew my that, I might think I would kind of assume they were official. But, educating drivers about what's out there, and also even just educate drivers about like, okay, if you do receive a call from Uber, what will it sound like? What will we do?
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's interesting because I was just thinking about as you were talking about your perspective on this. I was thinking about from an engineering standpoint, how hard is it to send out a notification like that?
Not hard.
Like it doesn't require hours of code, right?
No. I mean, once you have the notification infrastructure set up, it takes about a minute and a half.
And Uber does.
Yeah, Uber. It's Uber
in the driver
within their power. They have many of the major tech security breaches have actually been not actually hacking, but what they call like soft hacking, which is just like calling up people on the telephone, like actual human people, and cajoling passwords and things out of them. It's not even like it's not even like that. There are these like of course there are like hackers on computers hacking, but there's also a lot of the most major national security breaches and stuff have been people repeatedly calling up like AT&T or other agencies until they get personally identifiable information. Like, hey, I'm Sarah. Like, I forgot my PIN number. Oh, like my husband's gonna be so mad at me. Can you just help me out? Can you just like give me this thing? And like, if a couple of people will tell you no. A couple people will tell you, oh, blah, blah, blah. But people will keep calling and try to hack like in like a soft or personal way. And that's actually one of the hardest kinds of phishing to avoid. Because even that's why they added, you'll notice a lot of times when you get verification codes texted to you, at the end, they'll say, your bank will never ask you for this code. Because what used to happen was that, hackers would figure out your password, put that in, then it'd be two-step verification, a code would come to your phone. Which is, like, as engineers, that's all we can do is, like, two-step, blah, blah, blah. But then someone would call up that number, because they would know your number, and they'd be like, hey, what's the verification code? Like,
so they figured that out.
I'm Capital One. Like, what's the code? And so someone, like my mom or someone might be like, oh, it's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that soft skill hacker would put the
Very
number
insightful.
in.
Yeah.
So it's like that's kind of stuff you have to watch out for. It's not just like password breaches through like key tracking. It's people who sound official or who sound nice or who sound like they're in need of help, kind of cajoling personally identifiable information out of you.
So like it sounds like this is such a nuanced like scam, and scammers will always find a way to bypass. So even 2FA, like two-factor authentication, can be bypassed because of the human element behind it, I guess.
Yeah, because like if you get a code, and especially a lot of times like bank stuff, or this is a great example. This Rideshare situation. It's like you're in the middle of a stressful situation. You're trying to get into your bank account. You're trying to like find your passenger. Someone calls up. They sound official. They sound either sympathetic or like they're trying to help or they're knowledgeable, and they just get what they need from you. I remember I saw like a talk from this like hacker at a coding conference once who said that she the best way she ever practices hacking is she tries to think, okay, I'm at a hotel and I want to get the key card to a room that isn't mine.
Wait, why?
How? Because like she says, it's like shows you like strategies for how you can use personal like sympathy. So like she'll look into like all the clerks behind the desk of the hotel. Like, okay, who's the one who maybe has like a trainee badge on? Who's the one who seems like like he might want to be the most helpful?
Right.
And like I mean it's sad. Like it's sad because it's like you're bringing out like the nicest person to try to get something, but it's like bad actors like look for people who look trusting and nice, and they like say things like, "Oh, I had this big room on the corner. I can't remember the number." And I'm like room 330. Was it room 335? Oh yeah, it was room 335. You're Samantha? Oh yeah, I'm Samantha. Like it's like that kind of people can just cajole you into it, and that's people forget that there's like a human element to all technology that can be easily hacked.
That is, I guess that's the key point is stay on your toes because as we can't eliminate the human element, and the human element is what causes the scammers to win.
Yeah.
So public service announcement: don't get hacked, don't get scammed by these Uber thieves, these scammers. So moving on, the third topic we want to talk about was it's kind of like a fun, lighthearted topic. So Uber Eats drivers, the way Uber Eats works, you get this delivery, you pick it up, and then you go to the address, and then you literally have to walk to the front door and meet the passenger, or not passenger, the customer. So people would, and the chances are it's like somebody's house. So these people that order food would open the door, butt ace naked.
Ugh.
And you said you had a friend who
I had a friend she was running for city council in Boston, and she said a few times men would come to the door in bathrobes and flash her. And she said, like, actually, like, the one time she, like, really broke down campaigning, like, she was, like, really, like, campaigning hard, like, for months. She's, like, some guy answered the door naked and then said a bunch of, like, you know, not nice things to her. And she was like, how is this such a, like, it's such a gross thing, but it's, like, I mean, not common. She knocked on, like, thousands of doors, but it was happening too much. And that happened at all, and it happened multiple, like, but it's happening is too much.
Yeah, the fact that it's even happening once is too much.
One time is too much.
So this guy, you know, credit to, against the wonderful community, the Reddit Uber drivers community. I love reading everything about it. We found all of this on that. Another fully naked Uber Eats delivery. So the key word here, Sarah, is another. So this is like a repeat.
Like, who was...
People are doing this like all the time. Is this common in your era? I'm in Washington, D.C. So any D.C. drivers out there? I know we got New York City drivers. We got Pittsburgh drivers. I know we got D.C. drivers.
Yeah.
Last podcast we had 1,200 views, and I'm sure number wise, one of you have to be in D.C.
Yeah.
Can you explain? Can you shed some more light into this? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you are a customer that orders Uber Eats and you're watching this, please
put on clothes.
Please put on some clothes. Anyways, this is it for today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. If you did, make sure to reward us with that subscribe, notification bell, and also 2 fat thumbs up. And also warm and awesome thank you so much to Sarah for being our first guest.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun, Janda.
Yeah, and you know we'll have Sarah. I'm more than happy to have more of the team on. We have 12 of us now here at Gridwise.
Yeah, everyone's fun.
Yeah,
I love the team. The whole team is great. I don't even know how they did it.
If you use Gridwise and you have any technical questions about our features or anything,
yeah,
we'll let us know in the comment section below, and then we'll try to answer. We'll get Sarah back on another podcast, and we'll try to answer those questions.
That would be so fun. Please do that. I would love to.
All right, guys.